Just a quick question. I'm curious about testing and its integration with TypeScript, so Mocha or whatever, Jasmine. Is that something that's being done, leveraging that information in the tests?
Yeah, for it depends on the specific test you're talking about. In general, there's no kind of conclusion on whether you should write your tests in TS or JS. It's kind of a personal opinion. Angular will do all of their tests in TypeScript. They have a really tight integration with TypeScript, so they almost expect it. Other libraries, people prefer to write JavaScript tests because at the end of the day, that's what's running. It all really depends on what you're more comfortable looking at from a testing perspective. Because TypeScript is supposed to help you, edit and write code. Tests are supposed to help you understand what's, going on at runtime. And so it kind of depends on your preference.
Thank you.
Great. Other questions?
So I have a question regarding first presentation. So I wanted to understand better, do you have similar tools working with any operation system, like which you use command line tool to compile? Is it available for any operation system, like Linux? This first presentation, which we use command line tool to compile, yes?
You want TSC?
Yes.
Yeah, so you can get TSC on Windows, Mac, and Linux. Everything you saw today, it's all completely cross-platform. It's all open source, so you can compile it yourself if you want to. But yeah, you can use npm to install TypeScript on Unix, and you'll get TSC from terminal.
Also, can you integrate with Maven build tools?
Yeah, you definitely can integrate with Maven. I won't say it's easy. I don't think anything with Maven is ever easy, but
Okay, or Gradle, let's say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it all stitches right in, just like any other build step.
And regarding Visual Studio, is it the same feature set on Linux also completely equal?
In Visual Studio Code?
Yeah, Visual Studio itself as IDE.
Yeah. Visual Studio, talk about a regular version of Visual Studio, right? Visual Studio, if you familiar with Community Edition, it's free edition, and it has the complete full support for TypeScript. It's just like the purpose is a little different, right? VS Code, the way I look at it, is more for front-end development, and Visual Studio is really like for enterprise, right? You work with database, work with cloud. It provides a better integration environment. Plus, probably in terms of unit test, it's a little better if you do a paid version, like a professional ultimate,
Right. Yeah. The other big difference with Visual Studio is you never see a command line. Everything is incorporated into MS Build if you're using MS Build or whatever build tool you're using. It's kind of integrated by default, so you would never run TSC by hand.
Right. It's a full IDE if you use Eclipse and things like that. By the way, actually, how many of you noticed Bowden did everything on Mac? Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Cool.
Is there a big difference between using a library that is written in JavaScript and has types installed and using a library that is just written in TypeScript?
There is one minor difference. Well, it could be major depending on the library. As you saw, Definitely Typed is basically a community-owned repository. And so you have individual developers contributing those types to the library, to the repository for the library. So jQuery, for example, has been built up by a couple hundred developers and is really high quality. For another, less popular npm package, you might not have a very good DTS file go with it. If the library is written in TypeScript, you can be more sure that you're going to have complete type coverage because that just gets generated by default because you already have the types.
Do the definitions for jQuery come from some documentation tool like JSDoc?
Yeah, actually. So it varies. It depends on the declaration file author. But what a lot of people do is they take all of the documentation for a given library, and they use that as a source for building the DTS file. And we're actually starting to work on some kind of experimental tools to generate DTS files for every single JavaScript library, and most of those are powered by JS docs.
Are some of the libraries that are in JavaScript, do some of them just like accept like so many types and are not strict on the types that are in, and does that make it kind of hard to get a good DTS file?
Yeah, so technically you could write your own one-line DTS file for any library by just saying like, hey, $, this jQuery thing is anything. And so at that point, you can add any function to it, you can add any property to it, you can do whatever you want just like you could in JavaScript. And it's not expressive, right? It's because TypeScript is optional. They don't force you to have 100% coverage of everything, and so you can have an in-between. But for anything that's a popular library, any of the probably top 300 or 400 most popular JavaScript libraries, you're going to have a very complete DTS file from Definitely Typed.
Thank you.
You mentioned tools being created for creating your own DTS files. What is the best way to create DTS for your own libraries?
So with the we did a lot of work with TypeScript 2.0 to revamp how you consume DTS files. And that was what I showed you with the @types/jQuery. A part of that was we took a hard look at Definitely Typed and how we could improve an author's ability to contribute types there. And we have a bunch of documentation on authoring DTS files and templates that you can start from to start. So for example, if you have your own library, you could take one that looks like jQuery and use that to expand off of, or we have a tool that you can basically run on your library that will give you the stubs. So every single method, and then you just have to fill in the types. All the types will be any, and you'll just go through and say, oh, this is a string, this is a person, this is a whatever.
Thank you.
So all the documentation is actually on GitHub already, right?
Yes, yes.
So one of the big issues that Definitely Typed tried to address is library versioning. Does the new TypeScript 2.0 scope solution address this at all? Or?
Yeah, because it's all powered by NPM, we have the same semantic versioning for all of the types. The caveat there is you need a individual typing file per version. So anything that doesn't exist already today, for example, older versions of jQuery or Lodash, we won't have types for.
But didn't you say they're pulled from the currently Definitely Typed? Are they a version numbers associated with the Git hash? Or?
Yeah, so we include for every single DTS file that's now contributed to Definitely Typed, the TypeScript team reviews it, and there is a comment in the top that refers to the version that typing file is for and that it targets. And so that then gets turned into the version published on NPM.
Thank you.